What's up guys, it's Powerbang and I'm bringing you guys another Brawl Stars guide. In this one, our focus is Jessie. Jessie is a common brawler and she brings a load of ranged attacking and utility to any team. Her base hit points is 700, so it's a little bit on the low side. Obviously, this can be increased with power-ups. Her primary attack is the shock rifle that releases an orb of energy that seeks out up to 3 targets before fizzling out. Her super ability is called Scrappy. Jessie cobbles together a gun turret out of random scrap because she's a genius. Right? As we break down the strengths and weaknesses of this particular brawler, you're gonna notice a lot of strengths in this character and not too many weaknesses. So let's get straight into it. Jessie has decent range. Not overwhelming, not extreme, but decent. She outranges most of the close range ranged attackers and definitely outranges the melee guys, but can't shoot as far as brawlers like Colt, Ricochet, and Brock. Jessie has an amazing super ability. It summons a gun turret that does a significant amount of damage, and that gun turret cannot be left unattended or it will wreak havoc. Primary attack for Jessie will seek out the next closest target to deal damage to once the initial blast has landed on its first target. Jessie is the master of misdirection. She's deceptively dangerous, and she's one of the more lethal brawlers, yet she does her work quietly and does not attract a lot of attention. She's extremely useful to teams because her turret for her super ability acts like a fourth player, and teams with Jessie can very effectively lock down key areas of the map or access and overwhelm otherwise unconquerable areas of a particular game arena. As far as weaknesses go, she is one of the more well-rounded brawlers and she has very few weaknesses. One thing we can pick at is her hit points. They are on the lower end, and if a stronger brawler sneaks into her range, she can be dead meat. In addition, Jessie's single target firepower is not overwhelming. She does decent amount of damage, but when you put her in team play against grouped up opponents, that's where Jessie really shines. Let's look at some tactics and tips to help you excel using this character. I recommend you unload your primary attack in the beginning of a battle because it's likely that the opposing team will approach together in the middle. Because her orb continues to damage multiple brawlers after it initially lands, you may be even able to score a triple bounce damage dealing shot on all 3 of your shots. Once you land the shot on the first opponent, it will then carry on and target the second. Then if it lands on the second, it will target a third. And if all are clustered up super tightly and you land all 3 shots, that is an overwhelming amount of damage, and you can even end up with a team ace on your first 3 shots. Let's talk about Scrappy, her gun turret. It's easier to dodge at distance because the bullets are relatively slow. Place your Scrappy in one of 2 ways. Directly next to your opponent, as close range Scrappy never misses. The opponent does not have time or the reaction ability to move out of the way of that fire. Or you can throw the Scrappy far from you, but in range of your target. Be mindful of the attacking angle and make it a nice one because it puts pressure on whoever you are pursuing. They can't just sit behind a wall because you can flush them out with Jessie and have Scrappy finish the job from the other side of that wall. Sometimes players do a great job of dodging your attacks and hiding behind cover, so you just can't hit them. Jessie can use others to deliver damage to the intended target. Rather than leaving your protected and fortified position to shoot at a low HP target that is hiding behind a wall, which leaves yourself vulnerable, try shooting an enemy who is approaching the scene to help out his buddy. He doesn't know it, but he'll be the end of his buddy when your orb redirects to the intended target after it lands, and now he won't have time to react to it. Other things you can shoot in addition to the enemy brawlers are Jessie's turret or Nita's bear. Nita's bear is a great one to deal damage to a pursuing enemy because you can kite the bear as well as Nita and avoid all of their damage. You don't allow the bear to build up super juice for Nita to take advantage of, and all of the shots that you land on the bear will be sent at Nita, who presumably is following the bear, with perfect accuracy. Engage when enemies cluster up. The ability to weaken everyone at the same time is worth the risk when talking about attacking with Jessie. Let your teammates finish up if you happen to die. Try throwing your Scrappy on the other side of a wall, next to where an enemy is hiding. Once he's preoccupied, time your assault on his position so that you're hitting at the same time Scrappy is landing. Pro tip, don't put Scrappy on the field in a position where it will line up with where you will approach the enemy from. This makes it so the enemy can shoot both of you at the same time. Make them choose. It's one or the other. And the one that they don't choose, it's likely going to be the death of them. The best game modes for Jessie are as follows: Smash and Grab, Heist, and Bounty. Smash and Grab and Heist are great because they have objective play. And that gun turret that Jessie can summon for her super ability is extremely valuable when looking at taking objectives. It can hold down positions, it can pressure opponents, it basically acts as a 4th player or a 4th entity on the battlefield that the opponent must take heed of. Bounty she can also also do great. Due to the likelihood that the brawlers group up in the center of this base at the popular choke points, that orb can redirect and do a lot of damage very quickly. Jessie struggles a little bit in Showdown. That's the free-for-all mode where you're going 1 versus 9 other players, basically. In that mode, Jessie simply doesn't have the hit points required to maintain the stamina she needs to get through the round. Let's talk a little bit about the favorable matchups and those that are a little bit more difficult for Jessie. Looking at favorable matchups, you've got Nita and a mirror match of Jessie herself. Both of those characters are known as like the support players or the utility players, and the fact that they have extra entities on the battlefield in the turret and Nita's bear give extra things for Jessie to shoot at. These things actually allow her to angle her orb around walls and use it strategically to kind of surprise attack enemies that may otherwise be unsuspecting. Bull and Shelly, the shotgun players, are also on this list, as the range of Jessie quite simply is just a little bit farther. She does enough damage, and when you factor in that she's got a turret she can flank these enemies with, it just simply is too much for Bull and Shelly to handle. Dyna Mike struggles as well against Jessie. Not only can you flush him out with your own orb as well as turret, but Dyna Mike does not have damage over time like Barley does with his area of effect splash attack. Lastly, we have Poco. Poco simply can't match up to Jessie because he has similar hit points. He doesn't quite do the damage, nor does he have a turret at his disposal. He does have a small heal, but in order to get that heal, he'll have to be able to generate his super. Difficult matchups for Jessie include Brock. Brock can actually snipe that turret from long range, much farther than the range of the turret itself. His rockets take it out in just a couple of shots. In addition to that, Jessie never gets any super juice created from her turret because it's been destroyed so quickly, so that essentially negates the usefulness of Jessie right out of the gates. Having a Brock on the enemy side is not a good thing. Barley is another character that she will struggle with. Having the turret on the field in an advantageous position can be quickly negated by Barley, whose whiskey bottles, when they explode, do damage over time to not only characters, but also the turret itself. As close to a hard counter as they come for Jessie is Mortis. I wouldn't call it a hard counter because she does have that turret to position herself around and use to her strength, but when it comes to getting in range and Mortis having a full ability bar, it is not a good story there, as Jessie's hit points leave her too frail and Mortis will quickly take her out. The last difficult matchup for Jessie is Bo. Bo simply does a lot of damage, pretty comparable to Jessie and her attack orb. However, Bo simply has more hit points. Going head to head in the open field, Bo is going to come out on top, even with the help of Scrappy. As far as hard counters go for Jessie, she really doesn't have any. She's pretty well rounded against all other brawlers, and it really comes down to the skill of the player using Jessie, who she's good and bad against. My overall assessment of this character is that Jessie is a very well-rounded brawler. She can provide excellent support to her teammates in a variety of game modes. Her super ability is not to be underestimated. One of the best things about Jessie is that none of her abilities seem really strong, so she flies under the radar a little bit. As far as being the target, the enemies feel that they have to focus fire down. She doesn't do anything extremely well, but she does almost all things pretty well, and this makes her one of the most reliable choices for brawlers. In capable hands, the skill cap of Jessie is very high, and this brawler can really have a high impact for a skilled player. That's all we have for today's Brawl Stars guide on Jessie. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, leave a like, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. Make sure on your way out you guys check the description, as we have the brand new Brawl Stars wiki on our website. Check the link for that for more guides, tips, and tricks, as well as stats of every character in the game. This has been Powerbang. It's been my pleasure, and I will see you guys in the next video.